CBS News senior investigative producer Pat Milton is joining us on the telephone. Pat, you helped produce this interview with Scott and Director McCabe. This is the first time Andrew McCabe confirmed publicly his involvement in opening that investigation into President Trump. What do we know about his role in starting this inquiry?
Yes, good morning. Yes, we know that Andrew McCabe was Deputy FBI Director, and when Director Comey was fired, he was made acting FBI Director by President Trump. And he said that there was, to us, that there was just chaos when Comey was fired. There was 8 days between Comey being fired and a special counsel being appointed by the Justice Department that were just chaotic, he said. And he said that they were concerned by a number of statements that the president had made about the Russian investigation that raised their radar. He said one of them being that he was continuously calling the investigation into the interference for the elections a witch hunt, that he had also asked Director Comey when he was FBI Director if he would drop the investigation against the National Security Director Flynn, and this all was raising a lot of concerns.
So you talk about the chaos following the decision to fire James Comey. Can you give us a little bit more about what was happening at the White House and what was happening in the Justice Department in the days following James Comey's departure?
Yes, McCabe tells us a story for Scott Pelley for 60, says that the president summoned him to the White House right after Comey was fired, and he kept repeating a narrative that McCabe tells us he thought that he was getting a message that he was supposed to adopt this narrative, and the narrative was that the FBI was thrilled that Comey was fired, that everyone inside the walls of the FBI were happy that he was gone, and McCabe tells us that he said to the president, no, sir, that's not my understanding. He said people are very upset, very shaken by Comey's firing. He said, in fact, in the hallways, he saw groups of agents actually in tears as if they had lost a loved one.
So, Pat, I just want to make a fine point of this. Andrew McCabe talked about conversations that took place within the Department of Justice about invoking the 25th Amendment, essentially removing the president from office. In the wake of the initial reports that suggested that it happened, there were reports that suggested that that was just a joke. How serious did you learn in that interview with Andrew McCabe were those discussions?
Yes, the revelations that McCabe made in this interview were really shocking. It just really gave you pause. There had been reporting on sources that there was consideration of invoking the 25th Amendment, which would allow the cabinet to remove the president. And there was also a conversation about Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, his offer to wear a wire. And you are correct. The anonymous sources that have been reported said that Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, had said it was sarcastic. It was all not in seriousness. It was just a joke. And here McCabe puts a face on the revelations and says, no, he was in the meeting with Rosenstein, and that those were very serious discussions. It was a serious offer. In fact, McCabe said that the first time that Rosenstein brought it up to him, he went to the general counsel for the FBI to seek advice, and they said, no, we're not there yet. And he said that Rosenstein brought it up twice, that he said he could wear a wire and he could go into the Oval Office and nobody would search him because nobody checks him when he walks in there. And Scott Pelley, in the interview, asked McCabe, well, why would he want to wear a wire to begin with? And he says, well, one would wear a wire to collect evidence. And he said not necessarily that there was guilt, but you'd want to collect evidence to see if there was some kind of obstruction of justice and some kind of collusion that the president was efforting.
Pat Milton, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So Andrew McCabe reveals more of his conversations with the president in Scott Pelley's 60 Minutes report. You can see more of that conversation on Sunday at 7, 6 Central, only on CBS.